So by laying telephone wire, I was a telephone man, wireman, and I was communication. I lay line, I always carry a quarter of a mile line. And I did that everywhere on the NGO, the whole length of Italy. And in that place, I laid the line in. When I got to the hill, I checked my line was knocked out. I went back to patch my line, and while I was gone, the German made a hit and run to the hill. The guys were so tense, so upset, you know. They saw me walking up the road. While I walked up the road, they all opened up on me. Sparks on the tire all around me, and I could hear the bullet cracks around my head. Luckily, there's a ditch there. I got into the ditch, laid down there. I yelled my name, the password, which I'm not supposed to. I did it just the same. I was so upset. And it took about 15 minutes, half an hour. There's a sergeant that walked up the road. He said, "Ramsey, are you the one?" I says, "Yes." Well, he said, "You come out now." He says, you're all set." What a close call that was. All friendly fire. So I got through a lot of things. I don't know how come I'm here. I lost my buddy. He took my place that night because I got there just. When you get to the front line, you only move around with dust, you know, just start getting dark, you know. Because at night when you meet another soldier, we had a password every night, like Snow White. You yell snow and he answer white. That was the password on that night. And every day the password changed around. It said telephone. Something like that, you know. That was the different word, the password, you know. And we had that every day. Snow White, you know. You say Snow White, you know.
And you were glad he said white.
Your guide said white, you know, because in the dark, you know, you can't tell who it is, you know. You're walking around, it could be an enemy, you know. You had to have password or you stay low. Like myself, I was walking around the lawn because I was repairing the line. Where I repaired the line was broken, it was dark, I walk, oh, it broke right here. I'd take the wire and patch it, unroll it, I'd walk probably 15, 20 feet, kick around, oh, I find the wire. I pick the wire, cut it, patch it. And the way I patched the wire, I did patch it to screw it, I make a knot, because when I check the line, when I come to a splice, it come apart. But I make a knot with it and tape it, it didn't come apart, see? That's the way I had to patch it. Especially when we get hillside, on the hillside or things like that, you know. But we had, I forgot to tell you that a while ago, password. We had password every day, change the password. Yeah, at the time I was wounded, there was my first sergeant. He was dug in the hole about 7 to 8 feet ahead of me. And this guy was walking around, and the German made a hit and run thing, you know. And he says, hey, he didn't know what to do. I says, hey, get on me, get in with me. I had a slit trench, and he got on me, and I had just my shoulder sticking out like this here. And the German shell, the mortar hit the guy in the hole in the front of me, blew him out of the hole, and the shrapnel hit my shoulder, but the guy in front of me, he lost the use of his arm, and this side here was loaded with shrapnel. And he had a hard time walking, and once we got to it, the captain says, you take him to the aid station. He asked for volunteers, so I did. And my shoulder was burning all the time, burning like crazy. So when I got to the hospital, we put him down. The doctor was outside. He wanted to see what's going on. I put my hand in my shirt, and my hand came out full of blood. He says, "You're staying here, you."
Angel Beachhead. Third morning of the breakout, the 25th of May, 1944. I run contact patrol, only Herschel and I all night. It was my company of the 6th Armored Infantry, the 2nd Armored Division. 1st Armored Division, excuse me, 1st Armored. Down through a little swale. Come back in the morning. Douglas scratched a hole between the, who was in the vineyard, scratched a shallow hole out right down there and went to sleep. And something hit me in the shoulder. I reached up into my shoulder and I feel blood. Woke Herschelman up and he didn't know what the hell to do, so I went back where I found a medic. He was in the wine cellar. He patched me up and they sent me to the hospital. Got back across railroad tracks. I walked, probably 2 miles maybe before I got a ride. Then they sent me back to Naples, the 182nd Station Hospital.
They call my name. They says, "Ramsey, you got enough point to go back to the state." So they took us back to Rome, and to Rome I got on the boat with the Italian, it was an old Italian liner. And I was 7 days on the ocean. We got to Chesapeake Bay, opposite the deck where I left 3 years before that. And I went home. At the time that I had a furlough from Arkansas, that I had a 7-day furlough. It took me 3 days. I had a hard time making home because the train didn't make it to Berlin, and the train was a Canadian National. I got to the last one, and there was this man from Lisbon, New Hampshire. He says, "You know, George," he says, "if we get up there, Lisbon," and the Canadian guy says, "You have to buy a ticket or get out." And I said, "Well, we're going to get out." And we talked to this place in Lisbon, and this guy says, I talked to the guy, and says, "Is this postmaster comes in the morning here?" He says, "Yes." He says, "He comes over here and he drives to Groveton, New Hampshire with a teacher." And I said, "Will you tell him to wake me up?" I was so tired, you know. I slept on the couch there. He woke me up. He says, "Soldier, you the guy who wants to ride?" I says, "Yes, sir." He said, "If you don't mind riding in the back," he said, "with the baggage." He said, "Okay." I drove up to Groveton, New Hampshire. When I got to Groveton, the bus was at the door waiting to go, and the driver came out of the store. It was a drugstore. He came out of the drugstore. I told him, I says, "Wait," I says, "I want to ride to Berlin." Okay, I bought a ticket, got a ride to Berlin. When I got to Berlin, my brother-in-law, Alzir Bisol, was peddling milk. He saw me out there. He says, "Hi, George, what are you doing here?" Well, I said, "I got an emergency furlough." "Hey, get in here, I'll give you a ride." He brought me home.
The 34th Division suffered 3,737 killed in action, 14,165 wounded in action, and 3,460 missing in action, for a total of 21,362 battle casualties. They spent more days in battle than any other division during World War II.
Next to me, he got blown, and the guy got blown out of the tank. You know, it's burning. He was all burnt, you know. And he was on the ground still moving around, you know. And I got out of the hole, see if I could do something for him, and he died. we were on this ship, all standing position. We were body to body, and we were so sick, the guy was throwing up on each other, you know. You know, when he tells you, you're a volunteer, you have to go, you know. This Italian was wounded, he was down on the ground, and he asked me, he says, Paisan. Paisan means friends in Italian. Paisan aqua, which means water. So I lift up his arm like this, his head a little bit, I took my canteen, I gave him some water, and he died in my arm. So I took the water can, which was our water supply. It was just like the Boy Scout can, the green can. As I walked to that farmhouse where the captain was, a sniper shot right through the can, right next to me. It was all broken down. And I went over there, I pulled the stone out of there, and there was 4 guys in the fireplace to come out of there. But some of them were bruised up, but the stone crushed on them. But the 4 of them come out alive. So I got through a lot of things. I don't know how come I'm here. But we went up the mountain. We were 150. My company were 29 men left, and I was one of them.